Hey everyone, this is Lauren Mack with Hacking the Rat Race. In this video, I'm going to explain why the first $100,000 is the hardest, but show you why it gets easier to earn your next $100,000 until you hit your first $1,000,000. I'm going to show you how to save money, how to get to your first $100,000 as quick as possible, and I have created an additional savings guide with savings hacks that will help you expedite the time for you to save your first $100,000. There will be a link to the guide and the hacks in the show notes below. For me personally, I went from being $42,000 in debt to becoming debt-free and saving my first $100,000 in just under 5 years by the time I was 29 years old. When I was $42,000 in debt, that was more than my husband and I made per year combined. I did not have a trust fund, an inheritance, win the lottery, or just stumble into $100,000. I applied the strategies that I'm going to show you today, which you can easily follow to have your first $100,000 as well. The great news is, while your first $100,000 is the hardest, the next is easier and easier until you hit the next milestone, which is $1 million. So let's jump right in. First, I want to bust 3 myths that I hear all the time, especially when it comes to regards to saving money and hitting your first $100,000 in savings. My first myth is I can't save, especially not to $100,000 because I don't have enough money. If I just got more money, then I would be able to save and hitting $100,000 would be so easy. If this were true, then 78% of retired NFL, 60% of retired NBA players, 70% of lottery winners wouldn't file bankruptcy within 3 years. 3 years. Think about all the celebrities and singers who make it big, lose all their money, even Olympians. Case after case. The truth is, if you can't manage $100, then you can't manage $100,000. The next myth I hear is that I cannot save, especially not $100,000, because I have never been taught how to manage money. This may be partially true, which we're going to cover later in this video. But I know people who have MBAs in finance that can't manage their money, and they definitely can't save $100,000. It's partially knowledge, but when it comes down to it, it's mostly commitment and dedication. The next myth I hear all the time is that investing is too risky and it's like gambling. There are all types of ways to invest, and some are more riskier than others. Obviously, there's always some level of risk, which you can always discuss with your financial advisor. And if you don't have one, I have a video, how to get a free financial advisor. I will link to it above and in the show notes below. However, not saving and investing is way riskier. Not having enough money in retirement and having inflation eat your investment is way riskier than not investing. Later in this video, I'll share with you ways to save and invest and hacks to help you get $100,000 even faster. If you're getting value from this video, don't forget to poke the like button. So then why is the first $100,000 so hard? Truth be told, for most people, it's because the initial returns seem insignificant or small. For example, a 10% return on $100 is $10. On $1,000 is $100. But on $100,000 is $10,000. Most people don't think it's worth investing for an extra $10 or even $100. Imagine this. What if you started a new job that was a lot of work and the pay was lower than you initially expected, but they guaranteed that if you just worked really hard for the next couple of years training your employees, you could start taking more and more time off. Then once you've trained enough of your employees to do your job that you don't need to come into work anymore, but we'll still pay you with large raises each year for taking the time to train the employees. This timeline is solely depends on how hard you hustle, train your employees, and do your job. Would you take that job? Yes, I would take that job any day. And you better believe that I'd be training those employees like a madwoman as fast as I could. Literally, this is what saving and investing is about. It's about treating every dollar like an employee. If these were your employees, you wouldn't have employees slacking off wasting your time, taking constant breaks, and not showing up. No way, because you not working and getting paid is dependent on it. So many people never start saving and investing because the return seems so small. The thing about compound interest is that in the beginning, the returns are small and they don't seem like they're even worth it. But if you give them time, they start adding up quickly. How would you feel if your $100,000 was returning $10,000 per year without you having to do anything? If you started with $1,000 and added $500 each month for 10 years, you would have just shy of $100,000. This is only if you added your money each month. This does not account for any of the saving hacks to expedite the process. You would have only contributed $61,000, but you would have $98,000. That's an extra $37,000 that you did not have to work for. If you look at the graph, the money you make on your money starts small, but quickly starts growing and growing. In this case, you actually only had to contribute 60% of the money it took to hit your first $100,000. Now, let's say you keep doing this for another 10 years. You change nothing on your part, have no hacks, only your money. Now you've invested $121,000, but you've saved over $350,000. You have just added another $61,000 from year 10 to 20, but you've made an extra $250,000, $250,000 in the same amount of time. You have over 3 times as much money. This is if you stuck to the same plan and never used any money saving hacks, and were never able to increase the monthly amount by even $1. Oftentimes, when people are straddled in debt and they're never able to actually accumulate cash, they feel like they'll never get ahead, which keeps getting them further and further in debt, which keeps the cycle going and keeps people stuck in the rat race. However, when people start to see actual cash start accumulating and growing, suddenly it gets way more exciting. The first thing you can do is invest in your 401k or company pension to the match. This is literally 100% return on your investment before your money is even invested. So if you're using the example above where you are saving and investing $500 per month, then by investing to the employer match, you're automatically getting your money doubled. For example, if you invest $50, then your employer will match $50, then that is your first $100,000 per month saved, but you're only having to contribute $50. The added bonus is that the money you contribute is also pre-tax dollars. So this will reduce your taxable income amount, and so you'll be keeping more of your money rather than paying it in taxes, which will result in more money to invest. The next thing you want to do is build an emergency fund. This way, you don't have to keep paying interest on debt when you have to put an emergency on your credit card. If you have debt, you should start with $500 for the first person in your household, and then an additional $100 per person in the household. If you don't have debt, then I recommend 3 to 6 months of expenses. The next thing you want to do is pay off your debt. It is literally like hiring an employee that is stealing from you. I recommend the snowball method. All you have to do is write down your debts from smallest to largest, not including your mortgage, and pay the minimum on all the debts, except the smallest one. Then put as much money as you can toward the smallest one, and then as you pay them off, just roll it to the next smallest debt until they are all paid off. People ask if you should invest prior to paying off debt. I always recommend getting the employer 401k match. But after that, I would start paying off your debt. If your credit card has a 22% interest rate and you're only getting a 10% return, like the example I showed earlier, then investing before paying off your debt would be resulting in a 12% loss. If your debt has a low interest rate, like 3% or less, then investing while paying off debt would be okay. But the sooner you're out of debt, the sooner you're free from the rat race, which that's the goal. Once your debt is paid off, then I would start investing the monthly amount you're putting to debt plus any other amount you can. The faster you can build up the base amount, the quicker compound interest will start working and you will hit your first $100,000. Once your debt is paid off and your emergency fund is full, you'll most likely want to invest your money to grow it because currently inflation is over 7%. That means if you're getting an interest rate lower than 7%, you're losing money. High yield interest rate savings accounts in recent times have been at the highest around 2%, but lately have been around 0.5%. This is okay for an emergency fund, as you want to be able to access the money right away, but not good for growing your money to hit your first 100K. You could look at low-cost index funds, ETFs, or mutual funds. There's also robo-advisors like Wealthfront and Betterment, where you have goals and can invest money as it comes in. You could also look into target date funds. Most brokerage firms offer them. Basically, you just choose the date closest to your estimated retirement date and invest the money. Then it rebalances the portfolio over time as you get closer and closer to retirement and needing the money. The best part of hitting your first 100,000 is that you have more control and opportunities. You can afford to change jobs and not be desperate, and you have more confidence asking for more money. You can take more risks when investing because you're not putting all your money on the line. Plus, you're able to give more money to things and causes that you care about and make a difference in the world. All it takes is commitment and starting. Even your first $1 for you to have saved your first $100,000. If you want to learn savings hacks to speed up the process so you're not just using your money, then click this video right here.